It's match day 3 in the Europa League, and United have travelled to Serbia to take on Partizan Belgrade. It's only the second time that the Reds' senior squad has returned to Belgrade since that fateful day in Munich 61 years ago. In fact, tonight's game is taking place here, the Partizan Stadium, the place where the Busby Babes lined up for the final time on the 5th of February, 1958. And that's where we begin our coverage of the Europa League match day 3 this evening. Gunnar Solskjaer looking to take a firm grip of Group L in a venue of great significance to Manchester United. Good evening, everybody, from Belgrade. It has been a glorious day here in Serbia, around 27 degrees and sunny, but it'll be perfect conditions when we kick off at just before 7 local time. So you mentioned there a very significant venue in the history of Manchester United. This is where the Busby Babes lined up for the last time. That famous picture you see at the Munich Memorial of the Babes lined up, Duncan Edwards with his chest puffed out. Well, it was right here, back in 1958. So that's what's on everybody's minds to do with Manchester United ahead of this game in the Europa League. Ben Thornley is alongside me. You do feel the significance, the historical significance of this city and this venue. Yeah, you do. It was all the way around, Stuart, when we arrived, and I think it's brilliant that Partizan have allowed the people from Manchester United to come and pay the respects that it's such a poignant time in Manchester United's history, and I think it was a lovely way to commemorate it. Yeah, a little bit earlier on today, a delegation from Manchester United laid a wreath in the centre circle here at the Partizan Stadium, led by Brian Robson and Mickey Thomas and Woodward there as well, and some fans watched it as well. And it's important. I think every generation is fully aware of the significance of Belgrade in United's history. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even myself, I realised it was Red Star. I didn't actually realise that the game had taken place here when obviously they used to ground share. But yeah, it's something that will never be forgotten. It's ingrained in Manchester United's history, obviously for all the wrong reasons, but there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't celebrate the lives of the people that unfortunately lost theirs when the crash happened. Well, we are here, of course, tonight for the game, match day 3 in the Europa League, and it's an interesting one with United and Partizan both locked together on 4 points after the first 2 games. But if Manchester United beat Partizan home and away, that means the last 2 games they could play who they want because they'd be through to the knockout stages. That's the ideal scenario. Sounds a lot easier than it probably is, though, isn't it? Yeah, well, it's these places are always difficult to come. They have a hostile crowd. They're going to get right behind them. They don't obviously always get a chance to play Manchester United, and the form that United have been in this season, they'll probably fancy their chances, Partizan, and there's no reason why they shouldn't. But I think Man United are going to use Sunday as a springboard to really dig the teeth into some proper results, starting with this evening. And we're going to start this evening by hearing from the boss, Gunnar Solskjaer. I spoke to him last night before his press conference and asked him if he was a proud man leading Manchester United at such a significant venue.
Oh, well, for me it's always an honour to lead the club, and for us that it's an old stadium, and the history it's a long time since that game, and for us we just want to come here and make sure we make good memories and win this game.
You feel it's important that players, when they come to United as well, are obviously aware of the history and of what has happened in the past?
Yeah, when you sign for the club, it's our history is special, and both good and bad. And for us, it's I'm sure the players will know that this is a special place.
We're promised it's going to be quite a lively, quite a hostile sort of atmosphere. Is that what you would be expecting in a way? Do you relish those sort of occasions?
You do that as a player. You go into these games. The more noisy it becomes, probably the less well you've done. So for us to manage the game is also managing the crowd. Can we keep them quiet? Then we know we've played a decent game.
A 20-man squad. I think young Ethan's in it as well. What do you like about him from what you've seen?
Well, he's been injured a little while. Now he's on his way back. I think he's a full-back in the mould that we want. He's physical, he's quick, he's strong, technical as well, driving forward with it. So we felt it was time for him now to get this experience, and we believe that he can kick on in his career.
With the rest of the squad, Jesse, the one who's coming back, who's fit again.
Fantastic to have him back fit. He's been so lively and bubbly in training, and I don't know how much game time we'll give him, but he looks like he has time to. He needs to catch up on lost time, and it's been fantastic to see him. Big smile. I know Jesse from before. Of course, now we expect him, and I think he expects to kick on as well.
Familiar face in Zoran Tosic in the opposition lineup. Somebody you worked with in the reserves when he was at United.
I had Zoran, fantastic boy, great left foot, worked hard all the time. Of course, he moved on, but for me, I'm looking forward to seeing Zoran. But we'll have to make sure that we stop him cutting inside and using his left wand.
Just like United, they got 4 points as well. Might this be the toughest game in the group coming to Belgrade?
Yeah, of course it is, because they're a good side, they're a good team, and if we can get a result here and the next one at home, we can put it to bed the next two games. So we go into the game approaching it as in a game we need to win. That would help with a very long trip to Astana coming up, in the ideal scenario, I guess. Yeah, you can't plan too far, but tonight we go into play against a tough side. I've seen them a few times. They beat my Molde when in the playoffs, so I know more or less the quality. And if we can get a result tomorrow, we'll be very happy going into the next few games. And finally, the first of 4 away games in sort of 9-10 games. How much of a challenge is it to plot your way through that, different competitions, different games? It's going to be tough for the boys, but they've got to be mentally and physically ready for this. We've trained hard. We're fitter than we've ever been. That just, the Liverpool game, we outrun them. I don't think anyone would think that about us last year, but the boys are now, they've got a different engine, and that was a big plus, looking how fit we were and how much we ran. And you look at the stats after, that's a big bonus for me, and I think it's going to take us through the next it's 6 games until international break. Thanks, Ollie. Cheers. So that's Ollie. It'll be interesting to see the side that he picks. The team news can be a little bit erratic on these European nights when it comes out, but obviously we'll bring it to you as soon as you can. And also have a look at the Manchester United app, where you'll see news of the team first. And Ben, it's going to be interesting to see what he does. He's got a few youngsters here, and he's maybe got a decision to make regarding the formation. Played 3 successfully at the weekend, but hasn't done that before this season. No, and it's nobody can argue that he sprung a surprise on Sunday against Liverpool, and for vast parts of the game they couldn't get to grips with it at all. I thought it was a really good masterstroke from Gunnar, and he might go with that again tonight. It all depends on who he has available here, what he thinks that their strengths are, but there's no reason why he shouldn't. And he's got a few young lads here as well, and maybe it might be an opportunity to give them a game as well. You never know. Ethan Laird, James Garner, Mason Greenwood, Brandon Williams. Some may get an opportunity tonight, and you mentioned that it's going to be a hostile atmosphere here. What an occasion for these young boys. Yeah, there's no doubt that they're up to it, physically and skillfully, because that is why they're here, why they're at Manchester United. But it's grounds like these, on nights like these, where you are tested mentally. There's no question about it, and they're difficult places to come. But I'm hoping that we do get to see some of the young lads, because I've been watching them regularly on the under-23s, and they've been very, very impressive this season and thoroughly deserve the chance. Well, the first time Ethan Laird has been involved in the squad, travelling first-team squad. I know he got an injury, obviously, early on, but is he somebody who's impressed you? I watched him he played a full game against Swansea in the 23s on Monday night, and he was excellent. They all were, don't get me wrong, but I watched him early on in the season, and I was really impressed with him before he got injured. But I got 90 minutes of watching him the other night, and he was really impressive, powerful, direct. He does his defensive duties, but he doesn't half deliver when he gets into the offensive half as well. So, as a full
full-back, playing for Manchester United. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the boss does. I say, might play some youngsters, but also wants to get the job done as well in this group, and United qualify as quickly as possible. Team news then on the way. Keep an eye on the Manchester United app. Now then, let's look back to the Liverpool game at the weekend. Terrific goal by Marcus Rashford. Statman Dave and Wes Brown have been looking back at that.
Before we take a look at that Marcus Rashford strike, let's hear from the boss, who was delighted by the counter-attacking threat that United posed.
Marcus's movement when the cross came in, great goal. We've been working obviously on being more, how do you say, clinical when the counter-attack opportunities arrive, because they don't happen too often in many games. Today, yeah, we got a few. We've had earlier on a few, but some games you haven't had them.
So let's have a look at the goal straight away. Liverpool attacking Manchester United. Of course, you know, the big thing here is the movement of Marcus Rashford. But there's a situation now where the defenders have got a lot of sort of decisions to make, right, Wes?
Well, listen, Daniel James, first of all, he's got himself into a lot of space. He's the first one that reacted, makes the run, ball gets played into him. Now, what does Van Dijk do? He doesn't really want to come out.
So he's got the issue of he could come and close the ball down?
Yeah, but he takes a decision just to hover him a little bit. But he's giving Dan James then the chance to obviously get the ball in the box. This is still from here very difficult for Marcus. Good position, coming back in.
You're thinking good position there. Fabinho's making that sort of move to maybe sit.
So he's comfortable at the moment, but it's at the point where you see Marcus start to sprint, and he just has a little look at him and sees him sprint, which makes him go even quicker. Marcus then puts the brakes on, just comes round the back, and he's got a tap in. A goal that the manager would have been proud of himself. So
what we're sort of talking there is Marcus Rashford, in fact, is going to make the run across.
Yeah, he doesn't do it too early as well. He does it at the right time in the box, as he's just entering the box.
So that little
now
jump across to the back.
And it's hard to defend that, and the ball has to be spot on as well, which it was, but you have to give credit there to Marcus for the movement.
Do you think it's this situation where Van Dijk is sort of coming to shut like wide? Matip is safe, he's safe now, but it breaks down.
I mean, that's always a danger because it's one-on-one still. But at the same time, he thinks he's in a good position, which he was at the beginning, until Marcus makes that extra run.
And it's creating that sort of extra yard. It's on that blind side, and it's difficult to spot him when he's operating behind
and
it.
It's a goal Marcus needed as well, getting in the box, them little tap-ins, because at the end of the day, the run was tough, but it was a tap-in. And that's the goals we need to see him start doing a bit more of.
There was a lot of praise in the press conference as well for Manchester United's number 10 from Gunnar Solskjaer.
Best game he's played for ages, and maybe in his 10 months with me. I thought he runs off the shoulder of the defenders, he chases, he defends well, he got hold of the ball. There was a nice little race between him and Van Dijk down in the corner, and you can see the boy is growing and then getting stronger.
We're going to have a look at that now, haven't we, Wes? That little battle between Van Dijk and Marcus Rashford.
I'm telling you now, Van Dijk will be devastated with that. Fantastic from Rashford, just sit down you for a minute. But then he's bringing in other players in, do you know what I mean? And it also shows the team that, you know, we can battle with these. It doesn't matter how big or strong they are. If we compete with them, we can do what we need to. It's brilliant from Marcus.
It's kind of nice as well, as you mentioned. It sets the counter attack up in a way.
It does. It gives everyone that confidence. Everyone's coming up the pitch. The defenders are getting up. The midfielders are getting up, and it's putting them under all sorts of pressure.
I think we mentioned there we've got Pereira making the run, gets the shot on goal. We've got Dan James in that situation. United, by hitting the channel, by Marcus Rashford winning that 1v1 duel, they've created a 3v3.
They have, yeah, and that would have been the game plan at the beginning. Obviously, the two fullbacks love to push on at the same time, which can work in their favour, but you know, we can counter-attack like that into the spaces, do the right balls. It puts a lot of pressure on Liverpool.
The latest edition of Box to Box, they're focusing on that terrific goal from Marcus Rashford at the weekend. And the news is that Marcus Rashford isn't actually playing tonight. He's on the bench for United, who make 7 changes from the weekend. And what a huge evening it is for James Garner, who makes his full debut for Manchester United in the heart of the midfield. It looks like United are going with a 3 at the back again. So let's take a look at the lineup, and that if it's Romero in goal, the back three as we see it: Jones, Maguire, who's wearing the captain's armband, and Marcus Rocco. Bissaka as the right wing back, Brandon Williams as the left wing back. He did play in Alkmaar, remember, so special for him. Garner and McTominay in the heart of the midfield, and then Mata in behind Martial and Lingard. Martial now fit and starting. 7 changes. So Maguire, Rocco, Wan-Bissaka and McTominay, the only survivors from the weekend. Grant, the substitute goalkeeper, Lindelof, Rashford, Pereira, Fred, Dan James and Mason Greenwood on the bench for Manchester United. Now, if we have a look at the Partizan Belgrade side, it looks like they're going with a sort of standard 4-4-2. Zoran Tosic, who you know very well, we expect to play on the left wing with Suma on the right-hand side with Asano and Sadiq, both dangerous through the middle for Partizan, who have got an 18-year-old and a 35-year-old as their 2 centre-backs. There's Pavlovic and Ostojic, and then Stojkovic in goal at the age of 36. He has played in England, he's played for Red Star and Partizan, hugely experienced. He's the captain for Partizan Belgrade. So they're playing 4-4-2, Manchester United playing 3 at the back. Ben Thornley joins me in the tunnel here, and interesting that he's gone with 3 at the back, and somebody who you've mentioned several times this season when you've been covering the under-23s, James Garner, gets his chance.
Absolutely fabulous night for the lad, he really is, and I think that he's thoroughly deserved it. I think his performances for the under-23s, he's a mature player. He can score goals as well from midfield, which obviously is something that Manchester United have been lacking for quite a vast majority of this season so far. But what a fabulous night for him. And yes, we're going to go 3 at the back again. I think, was there a debate we go back to a 4? It worked really, really well against Liverpool. Yes, different personnel, but the system will be the same.
Harry wearing the captain's armband, which is good for him, making his European debut for Manchester United. Brandon Williams, who we've seen already, of course, a couple of times in the first team. Chance for him on the left-hand side. Wonderful.
It is. It's brilliant. I mean, to be honest, before the season started, I actually thought that Harry Maguire was going to get given the captain's armband anyway. So better late than never. Obviously, he's not going to retain it, but it's useful to have him in there playing in a back 3. Somebody having done it before, and yet Brandon Williams, another top performer for the under-23s. We've already seen him have a half in Holland. He gets the nod from the start tonight, and he will not let anybody down, I can assure you.
Yeah, and Anthony Martial starting as well. Good to see him starting, obviously, after he missed a couple of months with injury. OK, now, it's going to be a hot atmosphere we are promised tonight here in Belgrade. Just the sort of atmosphere that the great Brian Robson would have relished playing in.
No, well, you do. So I can remember 1978 playing for West Bromwich Albion against the other team, Red Star Belgrade, and there was 100,000 there, and it was really hostile. You know, and I've heard that Partizan, even though there'll not be 100,000 here, but I've heard we'll get a real reception, and the atmosphere is supposed to be tremendous. You know, for me, as an ex-player, and that was all part of playing in these games. It's brilliant to go to different countries and get the passion of the fans, and I think our lads are going to have to cope with that tonight.
I mean, in the squad there are some 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, some experienced players, of course, as well, but what will it be like for them to come here and experience it tonight?
It's going to be a great experience, as long as we don't get beat. You know, but yeah, this is all the learning process for the young boys, you know, coming and being able to handle, playing in, you know, a great footballing country, always had great players, and they'll be difficult to beat, you know, because of the fans getting right behind the team. They'll be difficult to beat, but it's just a great opportunity for the young lads to prove themselves and go and show that they can handle the atmosphere of the stadium.
We're on a run now. We've got 4 away games in sort of 9-10 days. How much of a test is that for the squad?
That's tough. I mean, the way the fixtures have come out, but you know, in saying that, a lot of people would want to have the 5 away games that we've got on the belt, because that means that they're in the Europa Cup and they're in the Carabao Cup, you know, and that's part of it. You know, you win your games and you stay in the cup competitions. You do get really busy parts of the season, and the lads have got to prove that they can, keep it busy by winning these sort of games and staying in both competitions.
Were you encouraged by what you saw against Liverpool at the weekend? Yes, we wanted to win the game, but were you encouraged by the overall display?
What concerns me about the lads is that that's two pretty good performances against Chelsea and against Liverpool. That's not good enough. We have got to step up to the mantle every time we play anybody. So when you're playing people like Astana and you're playing Rochdale, the lads have got to do better in those games than what they have done this season. And if they can achieve that, then we're going to have a decent season. But they've got to get to that level of performance when they're playing against the lesser teams, not just raising the game for when they're playing people like Liverpool and Chelsea. So that's the aim for all of those boys to be able to do that.
Finally, we've obviously got back-to-back games against Partizan. Now, if we win them both, we'd be through with 2 games to spare. Is that the ideal scenario? Because it means in those 2 games, in a busy time, you can really shift the squad around and really play whoever you like.
Well, that's why I'm hoping Ollie, fields a strong side. I mean, he's obviously going to pick a team which he thinks can win the game, no matter whether he puts loads of the kids in. He's going to try and win the game. But I'd like to see quite a bit of experience just because of the atmosphere that's going to be in this stadium. And so you just said, Stuart, like, if we win the 2 games, then you can rest people later on in the season and concentrate on the other cup competitions. But let's make sure we get a really good result here and don't get beat.
Always good to hear from Brian Robson. He's just the man you would want in the trenches in a game like this tonight.
Definitely, somebody like him just to drag you through, to talk to you before the game, and obviously be a huge voice and an inspiration on the pitch. And yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people, a lot of the lads when I was growing up who managed to play on the same pitch as him, realise what an asset he would have been in a place like this.
And you have got some experience of playing in a hostile environment. I don't mean Aberdeen. I mean, somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, when I walked into this stadium yesterday for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference, it immediately hit me about when I first walked into the Ali Sami Yen, as it was back in 1993. I think it was Galatasaray, yeah, on the infamous night when Eric Cantona clashed with the police after the final whistle, and it just sent a little bit of a shiver down because it's a little bit dilapidated.
Narrow corridors
that are not very well lit, or certainly don't feel as though they will be later on. So yeah, it was a strange. It's probably the first time I've walked into a stadium and was able to compare it to something like that, which was quite frightening, but absolutely brilliant atmosphere nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a very heavy police presence here, fully armed, should we say. The local officers. You see that when you're walking in, and it sort of makes you step back a little bit. You don't tend to see that in the Premier League, do you?
No, not at all. I mean, they are kitted out in full riot gear and look ready, shall we say, if anything should happen. But let's hope that that's not the case. They are here just as a presence to deter anything like that, and we are grateful for it.
Yeah, and there are 1,400 Manchester United fans who are here, who've just been in a little corner just up behind us. So they've been in good form going around Belgrade, and the weather's been perfect. They've been looking around, looking at the buildings, looking at the squares, looking at some of the hotel where the Busby Babes stayed back in '58. Good trip for the United fans.
It has. It's been wonderful. Yeah, I mean, the weather's been great. They can get out and about. I was out and about myself earlier, and stopped and talked to numerous groups of lads that have taken the trip, and they're really enjoying it and looking forward to tonight.
Well, someone else I'm sure looking forward to is Harry Maguire. This will be his first European action for Manchester United. I've been catching up with him, asking whether he's looking forward to it. Harry, thinks this will be your first taste of European football with United. You looking forward to it?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I've been on the bench for the last couple of games, and it'd be nice to get out there and taste some action and get to feel what it's like to play in Europe.
We promised it, a pretty lively atmosphere, probably quite hostile as well. I know you've played in that sort of situation with England, but do you relish when it's a pretty hostile environment?
Yeah, it's something I'm looking forward to when you come to the places all over Europe. Like you said, I've relished it in England, and you go to these grounds and it's going to be hostile, and you don't really want to give him any momentum in the game to get the crowd up. So we'll have to work on that. But we know that we've got to look at ourselves, and if we perform to how we can, how we did on Sunday, then we should get the positive result.
A few youngsters in the squad as well. Can an experience like this help their development when you're playing in a slightly sort of alien environment?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a massive part of their experience and the learning curve in where they're wanting to go and play and become regulars at this football club. So no, it's going to be an atmosphere where they've probably not played in it before. But the best thing we can do is go out and perform and keep the crowd quiet and give the away fans something to go on and cheer about.
Yeah, for Ethan or Brandon, 18 and 19, to be involved, maybe even play in this sort of environment, pretty special for them. Yeah,
it'll be a special night for them, especially if they get on the pitch. So, no, it's like I said, it's something that they're going to learn from, they're going to gain experience from, and hopefully, if they do get on the pitch, like I say, they control the emotion and the game in itself. They perform to their level and their ability, and like I say, help the team to get a positive result.
We played a three at the back at the weekend. Does it show that we can be adaptable, using different systems for different games?
Yeah, definitely. I think to go throughout a season, I don't think you can stick to one formation. I think you need to adapt to the opposition sometimes, or to players that you have available. And we went to three at the weekend. We felt like it worked well. Disappointing we didn't hold on in the end, but it was much more better performance from ourselves, and hopefully we can continue that for the games coming up. And you feel comfortable in that system as well? Obviously, you played it before in other clubs or for your country as well, a system that you're familiar with. Yeah, definitely. As long as I'm on the pitch, I'm happy, to be honest. So no, I've played the system quite a lot. I played it when I was at Hull under Steve Bruce. He played it quite a lot, and then, like you said, I played it in the World Cup as well, three at the back. So no, it's a system I'm used to, and the boys adapted to it really well. I think they played it quite a bit last year as well. So it's something we're all used to, and we can improve on it. We know that, but we'll keep working hard, and hopefully we can do that. How important do you see the Europa League? Because it is a way into the Champions League, as well as, of course, finishing in the top four. So how important do you see this competition? Every competition we enter, we try and win. That's the bottom line of this club. We want to win trophies, so we enter the Europa League and we want to win it. They did that a couple of years ago, so hopefully we can do that again this year. And this is the first of 4 away games in 9-10 games, some long trips. How much of a challenge is it, this little spell? Yeah, it's quite strange that you get 4 so close, but it's going to be a challenge. Lots of travelling, staying over in hotels, but we have a squad that we've got to try and adapt to it, and I'm sure we'll rotate a few players there and then, and that's for the manager to decide. But no, we've got a squad where whoever gets put on the pitch, we've got to go on, give 100% and get a positive result. Good luck with it. Thank you. Harry Maguire is going to be an important player for Manchester United for years to come. He's played, as he was mentioning, in a back three for England, played successfully in a back three against Liverpool. It's quite handy to be adaptable, isn't it? Because I guess we're not always going to be playing a back three. No, we're not always going to be playing a back three. I don't think that's been the Manchester United way for as long as I can remember, that's for sure. But it is great, like you said, to be able to adapt and have somebody in there, especially playing in the centre, that can talk and that can lead, because obviously it's a really good system the more you work on it, but when you're not used to working on it as often because you play a back four, then it's really useful to have somebody in there like Harry Maguire with his experience of having done it at numerous different levels. Have you been impressed with what you've seen from him so far? Very early stages of his United career, of course. I've been impressed with all 3 of the new signings, I really have, but Harry Maguire looks now to be growing into a Manchester United shirt. It's a big club, Man United. You know, it's a tough shirt to fill, no two ways about it, because of all the expectation that's on your shoulders, but I think he can carry it brilliantly. I would just like to see him, what I've just said there, carrying the ball a little bit more, but his defensive work and his clearances have been second to none. But I think if we can get Harry Maguire on the ball and actually set our attacks going, he will look just a complete centre-half to me. And he is a goal threat, but he should have scored at Newcastle, couldn't he, in a couple of others, but he is a goal threat, isn't he, from set pieces? He is, yeah, he's brilliant to have in either box, and you know, we've seen him score numerous goals getting into the offensive half from set pieces, and we could really do with him coming up with one tonight. It'd be nice. All right, well, me and Ben are going to take our lives into our hands and make our way up to our commentary position here in Belgrade for the game. Meanwhile, from pitch side, we're going to head back to Old Trafford and join Mark Sullivan and team.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Ben. We are continuing the build-up to the kick-off here from Old Trafford. Manchester United to face Partizan Belgrade in the Europa League. It's a big game for Manchester United because we really need to win against a team who've shown they're difficult to beat in this group already. As we can see, you've seen the lads arrive. A win tonight, like I said, will give us a firm grip on the group, and we could secure a good way towards securing qualification for the knockout stages. With me here in the MUTV studio, I'm delighted to be joined by a couple of our former strikers, Danny Webber and Sylvain Ebanks. Blake, welcome, guys, to you both. Yes, the strikers edition here for Manchester United tonight. Danny, we're going to get go through all the team news very shortly. It's a young squad which travelled and a young team which starts. How do you think they will contend with what should be a hostile atmosphere?
Well, I think that's the first task is dealing with it mentally, being prepared for it, and then having the calmness once the whistle blows to go out and enjoy the football. But I think they'll be okay. I think there's experience as well that's got the nice balance, so I think they'll be okay, the lads. But it's just important to get the first touch right, make the first pass, and build the confidence from there.
And it's a great learning experience for them, isn't it, Sylvain?
Yeah, it's great going into Belgrade in a hostile environment for the young players, James Garner and Brandon Williams. You know, they need the more experienced players to sort of coach them through the early parts of the game, and they'll feel their way in, get the early touches, like Danny said, and sort of just play their normal game.
When you were playing in front of hostile crowds, did it bother you ever? Were you ever looking around and sort of taking in what was happening around you?
I think at times you do, but loads of coaches I've played for, and I remember Jimmy Ryan here said, play the game, not the occasion. It's a famous saying, but it's true. Play the game. You don't play the crowd. You play the game that's taking part on the pitch, and get your first touch out there and just play your normal game.
Yeah, well, Stuart gave you the team news earlier. Let's run through it again if you're just joining us a little bit late. And someone already mentioned there a couple of the young starters, Brandon Williams, James Garner. Terrific experience for them. In full, Romero in net. Then it's looking like a back three of Jones, Maguire and Rocco. Wan-Bissaka and Williams, the wing backs. Gunnar alongside Scott McTominay, who, despite being a youngster himself, has a lot of experience compared to some of those around him. Juan Mata will play behind Lingard and Martial. And that, Danny, looks like a good setup for this game and gives Lingard that freedom to hover around the front areas in that attacking third, and Martial, great to see him back from the start. We need goals, we need a goal scorer, and Martial could be that.
Yeah, he could be, and he started the season on fire. He really looked good pre-season, and then obviously the way he started was good also. So if he can pick up that sort of form, he's a threat. He's one of the best finishers at the club, in my opinion. But the balance is right. I think Wan-Bissaka did well at the weekend against Liverpool as right wing backs. He gets forward very well, and also gets back and defends. Loves doing that. Brandon Williams, looking forward to seeing him again. He's got I liked him for a couple of years now, and he's just got fire in his belly. And
he's aggressive, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got fire in his belly. Doesn't mind a tackle, but he also goes forward aggressively. So, and Jimmy Garner, another lad that he's earned his way into the team throughout the 23s this season. I mean, he did well pre-season with the first team, gone into the 23s and he was relentless with his form, scored 6 goals I think he has for the 23s, and fully earned the start. So there's a nice balance to it. Got the experience with Juan in there as well, and Harry Maguire, Rojo, and yeah, I like the balance to the team.
We'll have a look at some of James Garner's goals for 23s in just a bit. Before we do so, let's take a check on the Partizan Belgrade team. We slightly tweaked the formation actually since Stuart brought you the news earlier. And Zoran Tosic is a guy who we know very well from his time at Manchester United. A very talented player, actually, just not quite good enough to force his way into the Manchester United lineup. They've got a combative midfielder where Nacho's a decent player. Sano will look to be a threat up front. We've got him as a 4-4-2. Sylvain, how do the formations match up? If you were in that 3-5-2 against a 4-4-2, how does that work out?
Well, you've got to just, for United, they've got to get the ball into wide areas, get the fullbacks bombing forward and plenty of crosses into the box, and have the Partizan team, defending their own box, But, Partizan will be really up for this game. That'll be their biggest game of the season today. Make no bones about that. They'll be really up for this game. The crowd will be up for it. So United have really got to impose their formation, their style on this game early and show them that they're here for the points.
Yeah, there certainly will be, like we said, a passionate home support, so we'll have to contend with that as well. Well, the man trying to mastermind us a victory tonight is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Let's get his pre-match thoughts.
Ollie, a big night for James Garner, his full debut. He's been terrific for the 23s this season, and is it same again for him tonight?
Yeah, he's been excellent, and he's been waiting for his chance. We felt tonight, with the experience he has around him, will be a good start for him. I think we got more or less 300 caps out there next to him. I don't think he's ever played with so much experience around him, and he's an exciting player.
And the three obviously worked well at the weekend, and this time Harry's in there with the captain's armband.
Yeah, Harry's a leader, and we brought him to the club to take us one step further, and so far he's been brilliant, and hopefully this captain's armband will help him maybe even become a bigger leader, because he's been excellent since the game.
And I think it'll be pretty boisterous out there. Is that what you're expecting with the lads?
Yeah, the boys have to. It's going to be a different atmosphere to what they're used to, I reckon. Of course, we can manage that ourselves by starting well, getting on the front foot, getting some finishes off, getting some counter-attacks, maybe keeping the ball at times. It's different ways to manage the crowd, and hopefully we can do that. If we silence the crowd, we've played a good game.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, Ollie will be relishing the task ahead of him tonight, and he selected Harry Maguire as his captain. Danny, is it a good choice, Harry, as a leader back there?
I think so. You know, if you watch him from the beginning of his career, Harry, you know, he came into the Sheffield United team, and then obviously into Hull and so on, and he's grown into a leader on the pitch. He's learnt from good people around him. He's been in sticky situations at some of his other clubs as well, and he's gone on to Leicester and really developed. So, you know, since he's been here, he's slotted in really well, and I think he's still got gears left in him as well. He's you know, he may not be the most vocal, but he leads by the way he commands on the football pitch. Yeah,
I'll speak a bit more about Garner, because he's a lad you've seen with us working for the under-23s, so you've seen him up close. He's been waiting patiently for his chance. I mean, he was only 18 in March, wasn't he? He's still such a young lad, but he scored a lot of goals from midfield for the 23s and some really good strikes as well. He scored in pre-season. So how excited will he be right now? And as a young player, Sylvain, what sort of things does he have to do to make sure he's ready to impact the game from the start?
He's just got to play his normal game. He's been selected on his performances for the 23s and the way he's trained with the first team, and his whole application in and around the ground. So he's really got to play his game. He's a really good football player. I really like him. Technically very good. Can shoot with both feet. Scores spectacular goals. Scores simple goals. Really good with the ball. Can spray the ball wide. Can play 5-yard passes. Breaks the lines. Just a really good all-round player, and he's just really got to just play his normal game and impose that on the Partizan midfield today.
It's such a great attribute to have, to be able to get goals from midfield as well, Danny. We've spoken throughout our under-23s coverage several times about this. James actually said to us in an interview, I want to add goals to my game, because he wasn't really last season or the season before, and now he's doing that. He's on the right path to becoming a more complete midfielder.
He is, he works hard at his game. You know, if you go back probably 18 months, you'd know him more for, you know, getting stuck in and tackling and that kind of thing. But then his passing's developed, he's got a great passing range. And now, again, another string to his bow is him getting forward and scoring goals. And, you know, that's something that if he does that tonight, it could keep him in the team, because, you know, the midfield's not settled at this moment in time. And, you know, everybody loves a goal-scoring midfielder. It takes the pressure off the strikers a little bit as well if you've got people chipping in with the goals. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to him, and I hope he has a good game.
And how important is it for both Scott and Wan to give him support throughout the game, talk to him and be in his ear at crucial moments?
Yeah, it's really important. There's a lot of experience around him, which, you know, the gaffer's done that on purpose, you know, to help him through the game at key moments in the game, you know. And, yeah, it's great experience, and for him, as I said before, just to play his normal game. And, yeah, as Danny said, I hope he has a good game today.
Yeah, fingers crossed for him. Like I said, good lad, and he's really working hard to become the best player he can be. Right, let's hear from a former United man now. Zoran Tosic only had a brief spell here at Old Trafford, but he's made his mark since signing for Partizan with 24 goals in 69 appearances. Stuart Gardner has been speaking to him over in Belgrade.
Zoran, first of all, What is it like for you to be back in Belgrade after many years away?
Well, to be honest, when I got the chance to come back to my hometown, to my Partizan, I wasn't thinking too much because I was missing my family, my friends, everyone, so I wanted to spend some years here to play good football. I didn't want to come back with 35 years old where I cannot play in good shape to give maximum. So that's why I decided to come back and to give my best for Partizan.
It's been more than 10 years since you joined Manchester United from Partizan. When you look back now, overall, what was the experience like of coming to Old Trafford?
It was fantastic. I was a fan of United since I was a kid. So my dream was to play for Partizan first of all, for the national team, and for Manchester United. And I'm lucky that I was at Old Trafford, and it was a fantastic year for me. I didn't have so much time to play, but I was young and I had the chance to learn from all these guys, to learn how to show myself on the pitch, how to spend time out of the pitch. So it was a great experience for me, and I think after that I became a better person and better player.
Was it tough to leave, or was it the right thing to do, the right time to go? Because you had a great career in CSKA in Moscow.
Well, sometimes I'm thinking maybe because I had 2 years more contract with United at that time when I left, and sometimes I'm thinking maybe I should stay and fight for the place. But after all, 7 fantastic years in Moscow. I played almost every season Champions League. We won a lot of trophies. I scored a lot of goals, important goals, and I have to be happy because of that. And sometimes I'm thinking maybe I should stay to fight, but also it was a great experience for me in Moscow as well.
And your teammates, are they excited at the prospect of facing Manchester United, both here in Belgrade and of course at Old Trafford in a few weeks?
Yes, they are. We have a lot of young guys who just started playing professional football, and the match against United is probably the biggest in their career, and they are very excited. They cannot wait that the game starts. So we have 2 days more to prepare, and I think it will be a very good experience for everyone from Partizan.
And what will the atmosphere be like in the stadium on Thursday? What can we expect on Thursday?
Well, we had punishment from UEFA. We played without fans, and now all the people want to come to the stadium to see, of course, Partizan and United as well. And as I know, the stadium will be full, so it will be a nice atmosphere. You will enjoy it.
Finally, you've played lots of European games just to get into the Europa League, but your form in the Serbian Super League a little bit up and down. So how are you getting on at the moment in terms of the scene?
Well, this is my 3rd season here, and I have to be honest that this team of Partizan is the best since I came back, and we had a lot of good moments, but in Serbian League last 2 games we didn't play so well. And I think we sometimes miss maybe motivation because we play against big teams in Europe, and then you come back and play in Serbian League, and as you said, we had a lot of games every 3 days, and it was very tough for us. But for United we have to find motivation very good, and we will be ready.
Yeah, Zoran Tosic, who will be a key player for Partizan, 32 years of age now, gone back to his native city, and he is doing really well. And it's no big shame to not make it at United when he came into a team, Danny, which was full of big-name players. And he went and found a long and successful career elsewhere, pretty much like the two of you did as well. It's sometimes really, really hard to break your way into a team like Manchester United, but you can go onwards and upwards and have a fantastic career at other clubs.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, there's only 11 places. And when the team, not just the team, but the squad was as strong as it was back then, The depth of the squad was insane. You know, I know they bought him and paid money for him, but it's still, you've got to come in and you've got to dislodge somebody who's in the team, and it's not always the easiest thing to do. But you know, there's a home for you away from here, and he's gone away and he's had a good career. As you say, he's spent time in Moscow. He's now back in his native town, or city, should I say, of Belgrade, and he seems content with the way his career's gone. So yeah, no shame in it at all, and you know, hopefully he doesn't get a goal tonight. But,
Definitely. Slightly different from the two of you, I guess, because you came through the system, and then you had that difficult decision at one stage. Do I stay and fight, or do I look to have a career elsewhere? He was brought in, like Danny said, for a bit of money and trying to force his way in. But no matter how you have to make that decision, it's a difficult one to leave Manchester United.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the most difficult decisions you'll make in your career. But it's a great schooling coming to Manchester United at any age, at any time. You know, you learn from the players here, whether you're young, whether you're a more senior player. You learn from the environment, the staff. There's a certain etiquette around this football club that's kept us to a real high standard. So, you know, he's obviously taken that, gone on and had a fantastic career, and so have many others. Yeah, certainly have. Let's get back to tonight then and have a little look at the group standings. This is how it is all shaping up right now. United in second place, although it's level on goal difference. There's nothing in it between us and Partizan. We were thinking before a ball was kicked in this competition, Alkmaar would be our closest rivals in this group. They, of course, have a double header against Astana now, which you expect them to pick up 6 points from. So, Danny, we really need to get a result tonight to put us in a good place going forward to qualify, not just qualify, but qualify as group winners. Yeah, we do. I think the last result was a little bit of a surprise to everybody, and it's, you know, I know we're on 4 points, but we really should have been on 6. But we didn't do so. So now, we need to be consistent. We need to take our chances when they come. I think looking at the team, obviously, Ollie's not taking this lightly at all. He's got the balance because, you know, it's going to be a huge occasion tonight, and you know, we definitely need the 3 points. So, and then it's obviously kicking on from there. The return leg, them coming here, and so on. So it's going to be difficult, but that's the case. European football's always like that, and you just got to deal with whatever comes your way, really. But no matter who we face, this is always going to be their biggest game, isn't it, Sylvan? Yeah. The home game against United. Yeah, they'll be well up for this game. You know, every player, all the staff members that have been G'd up all week for this game, and it's going to be tough. But if United can repeat the performance from Sunday, I think they blow Partizan away. But we need a repeat performance. Yeah, 100%. Let's get the pre-match thoughts on the opposition now with former Aston Villa striker, now Partizan manager Savo Milosevic. Here he is at his press conference yesterday.
It's going to be a great atmosphere tomorrow on the stadium, and we're expecting great support, which is very important for us. Facing one of the biggest clubs in the world, it's important that we have full crowd and full support tomorrow on the game. And as far as English football, well, it's impossible for one club to be always on the highest top level. In my epocha, Manchester was one of the best teams in the world with Sir Alex Ferguson. They practically won everything possible. And it's difficult to stay on that level always. But Manchester United is definitely top 3 biggest club in the world even today. And they have some difficulties, but it is also normal to have these difficulties, especially after the epoch of one man who was there for more than 30 years. It's difficult to find someone similar. So these problems are, for me, normal and natural, logically. So, but nevertheless, it's still one of the biggest teams in England, in Europe, and they definitely possess quality, and I'm certain that in the future, all Europe will see how good they are. They have some extraordinary young players, and it's a question of time for them to become key players and to lead Manchester forward.
Yeah, Savo Milosevic, who Danny remembers really well.
Yeah, I remember him playing up front with Yorkie for Villa. They terrorised a few people. He was good, actually, big lad, very mobile in his time. Didn't leave a bad stamp on the Premier League.
Yeah, it was a great partnership that was with Yorkie. Now, Zoran Tosic mentioned it a bit earlier. It's been a bit of a theme, sadly, ahead of this game, and that is about the racism and the ground closure that Partizan suffered recently. We've been talking about the crowd, Sylvan, and how we hope they're right behind their team, make it a cracking atmosphere, you know, but do it in the right way. The last thing we want to see is anything like the sort of scenes that the England players suffered out in Bulgaria.
Yeah, no one wants to see that. There's no place for it in the game. Come and support your team, get behind your team, create a hostile environment, but there's no place for racism, racial slurs towards players, fellow fans or anything like that. There's no place for it. So I hope that, you know, the fans are on their best behaviour. They get behind their team like they should, but we don't want to see any racism.
And are you in favour of the UEFA protocol now, this 3-step rule?
How long have we got? I mean,
yeah, I know. It's a massive topic, I know.
I mean, no, in a word, no. Wrong is wrong. I mean, why do we need 3 steps to get to the same
You'd be in
outcome?
favour of a walk-off as soon as one incident?
It's wrong. You could ban them from competition. There's so many routes you could go down, but then, you know, we're not going to get there anytime soon. But for me, fans should just come to the ground, enjoy your team, go home, and we don't want to be speaking about any sort of racism.
100%, because the last thing we want to be doing, Danny, is speaking about this after the game. We want to speak about a good game of football between two good sides, playing the right way, and with the support doing the right thing.
Yeah, I echo what Sylvan says. You know, there's no place for that, and there's no place for negativity. You know, everybody's okay with, you know, a sort of abuse, if you like, towards the opposition. Friendly banter, not abuse, friendly banter. Yeah. But that's as far as it goes. It's, you know, you're trying to intimidate opposition, that's okay, but the rest of it, you know, leave it out. It doesn't need to be there.
Fingers crossed that is the last we'll have to talk about this tonight, isn't it? Because we really don't want to have to do that. OK then, as well as our usual MUTV crew, we've sent Statman Dave over to Belgrade for his pre-match thoughts.
Statman Dave here in sunny Belgrade. I'm here to give you all the stats and facts about Manchester United's Europa League clash with Partizan Belgrade. Matchday 3, pits first versus second in Group L. Partizan currently sit top on goal difference, having drawn 2-2 with AZ Alkmaar, with Bibras Nacho grabbing both of those goals, and of course a 2-1 win over Astana, with Umar Sadiq grabbing a brace. Manchester United dispatched Astana at home with a cracking individual effort from Mason Greenwood and drew 0-0 away to AZ Alkmaar. As for Mason Greenwood's stats against Astana, he completed 94% of his 34 passes, won 2 out of his 3 tackles, created a big chance, had 4 shots, 3 with his left foot and the winner with his right. Manchester United last faced Partizan Belgrade in the 1966 European Cup semi-final. The tie in Belgrade, Partizan won 2-0. Unfortunately for United, with the team featuring the likes of Best, Charlton and Law. Over to Manchester, unfortunately United couldn't turn the tie around and won 1-0 at home with a goal from Nobby Stiles. But Sir Matt didn't have to wait long, of course, lifting the European Cup 24 months later at Wembley. On to transfers between the clubs. United bought Partizan winger Zoran Tosic in 2009. The Serbian went on to play 5 times for Manchester United before moving to the Bundesliga on loan with Cologne, and then a permanent transfer to CSKA Moscow, where he went on to score 47 goals in 241 games. On to the tactics. Partizan Belgrade have mainly played a 4-2-3-1 this season, with a focus on narrowing their attacking midfielders and getting their fullbacks really high up the pitch. One player to watch out for Partizan Belgrade is Strahinja Pavlovic. The 18-year-old centre-back has impressed this season as the only outfielder to play every single minute of Partizan's Serbian Super League campaign this season. Well, that's a number of stats and facts before United's clash with Partizan Belgrade in the Europa League.
Yeah, thanks for that. The VT definitely improved when he took the shades off. But onwards and upwards, and there are some little correlations between the two clubs that he's already mentioned there to Dave. But history, you can't really look into too much for a fixture like this because it's so different teams and different scenarios. It's going to be what happens on the night and which of the team take to the task the better.
It is, and you know, Savo Milosevic touched on it in his sort of interview, and he said, look, the team where United had Sir Alex for 30 years, you know, it's changing and it's normal to have transition as United have been in for a couple of years, but you know, we need to, first and foremost, we need to see the fight that we had in the Liverpool game at the weekend. That's got to be the baseline, and then earn the right to go and play football. And I think in this day, well, in every day and age, that's always been a prerequisite for any successful side, is the work rate to outwork the opposition and have the courage to go and play football.
Yeah, you've really got to match the opposition's work rate, haven't you? Because you could be the more talented group, but if you don't work hard, then the other team could, get the upper hand.
Yeah, Danny touched on it. You've got to earn the right to play. For the first 10, 15 minutes, it might not be very pretty, but you've got to win your individual battles, earn the right to play, and then clearly United will be the better footballing team, and they've got to impose their style on Partizan in the game and go on and score goals and win the game ultimately.
And was that always the philosophy taught to you when you were coming through? We might have a more talented group than the team we're playing against, but you have to match their work rate and even better it.
Yeah, I think any good coach will tell you that, no matter how good you are, if someone's going to outrun you, outwork you and outfight you, you're going to get beat on the day. So I think ultimately you have to win your individual battles out there on the pitch. Then as a team, more than not, you'll win the game.
Yeah, OK. I said that the history on the pitch didn't really count for this game, but it is a ground full of history where we're playing tonight. We've already touched on it this evening, that it's of great significance to the club. As such, this morning, Executive Vice Chairman Ed Woodward and former players Brian Robson and Mickey Thomas were there to pay respects.
On Wednesday, the 5th of February, 1958, Matt Busby's Manchester United drew 3-3 against Red Star Belgrade in this stadium to go through to the semi-finals of the European Cup. The next day, they set off from Belgrade back to Manchester. After stopping to refuel in Munich in snowy conditions, tragedy occurred. 23 people were killed as a result of the Munich air disaster, including 8 players, 3 other employees and a supporter of this great club. We thank our friends at Partizan and UEFA for facilitating this ceremony, and also welcome representatives of the Manchester Munich Memorial Foundation and the UK Embassy here in Belgrade who join us today.
Ed, it's an iconic city for Manchester United, an iconic venue as well. How important do you think it was that we come here today to mark this occasion?
Incredibly important. As soon as the draw happened, I think our attention turned to wanting to make sure that we could remember those who lost their lives in the Munich air disaster in 1958. This was the last place on this very ground, even though it was against Red Star Belgrade, but it was the last time that they played as a team together before they got on that fateful flight, obviously to stop over in Munich, and then tragedy struck. So for us as a club, yes, there's a game tonight, but for us, the trip really was most important about remembering those who lost their lives and paying respects, which we've just done today by laying the wreath. Very important to us.
It's unbelievable the way you get coincidence where, we're here playing over in Belgrade, but yeah, you've got to show a lot of respect for all the families and the people who lost their lives, and it's a massive part of the history of Manchester United, so it's fitting that we could do this today and just lay the wreath.
Very famous photograph of the last lineup of the Busby Babes, which you see at the Munich Memorial, and that was obviously took place right here. I mean, you can sort of feel it when you come here.
Well, you can, because when you've been at the club as long as we have, you get that history. You've met a lot of the family who lost people in the Munich disaster, and then I've even heard Bobby Charlton talk about the game when it was over here, and it was supposed to be a great performance by the team, so you sort of sense that when you come into the stadium.
Yeah, a real significant venue in the history of this great football club. I was there when the under-19s played in the UEFA Youth League, and just to stand on that centre circle and think of the likes of Roger Byrne and Tommy Taylor, Sir Bobby, of course, and the lads who were playing that day, it kind of brought chills to the spine and gave you goosebumps, really. So it's fantastic that Ed Robbo and Mickey have been there to pay their respects.
Yeah, it's deep, and even watching the VT there, it just brings a lump to your throat. I think you know, we owe it to those lads to pay our respects. And as Ed quite rightly said there, that you know, it was the first thing that came to mind when the draw came through. So you know, it's good to see that it's been treated with the respect that it deserves. And you know, not only by United, by Partizan and UEFA as well.
And you've taught a lot about the history, aren't you, as you come through the academy system, Sylvain? It's ingrained into your DNA. Yeah,
definitely. Former players and competitions that they've won, they've competed in, and yeah, history is just seeps through the whole club, and it's you know, it's great to see that. You know, it's a club of great quality, and it's only right that they pay their respects in the way they did.
And also, it's great to see Mickey out there, isn't it? Because obviously he's had his well-documented health problems. He's looking a lot more healthy. We've seen around Old Trafford in recent games as well. So it's great to see Mickey out and about and getting back to be the effervescent self he usually is. Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, Mickey's a fighter, and I think he knew he's one of the most likeable characters you'll ever meet. And the support's been everywhere. It was evident from the moment everybody knew. But you know what runs through Mickey. He's a fighter. Yeah. He's a good guy, and I'm just glad to see he's back to health and you know well on the way to being back to feeling how he wants to.
Yeah, 100%. Right, from former players to a current one now, and there was some great news coming out of the club last week. Mason Greenwood has signed a long-term deal, a player with a bright future, and Adam Marshall spoke to him after he put pen to paper.
So Mason, how does it feel to sign a new contract with United?
Well, I've been here since under-7s, and I've worked up the ranks from under-14s, 15s, 16s, youth team, 23s, and finally at the first team, and signing a professional contract. It means the world to me, because I've been here for so long. It's what I work up to and what I've worked for.
Ollie has said that it's a show of faith in you, obviously, in your potential. Is it your aim now to repay that faith? Yeah,
I'm just going to show everyone what I can do. The times if I come on or if I play the games, and in training, I'm just going to try my best and give it all for the team.
I know we've talked before, a lot of people have helped you to reach this stage, haven't you? Your family in particular?
Yeah, my family, they're always like helping me on. If I'm low or if I'm down, they're always there to pick me back up, and they're real inspiration. I look up to them, I play for them, so yeah.
And in terms of United, Eamon Mulvey helped you in the early days here, did he?
Yeah, when I was younger, like under-8s, under-9s, under-10s, he'd take us on tours, and he always used to help me, tell me what to do in the games. He used to challenge me, so yeah.
I think ever since you were a young footballer playing junior football, you played up in age groups. Has that helped prepare you for playing in the first team?
Yeah, because like obviously playing against big older lads when I was younger, it was always a challenge. So like just getting used to it really, and like obviously it helps now because I'm with the first team. So it's a bit similar really. I'm playing up there and I'm playing up with the first team. So yeah.
And do the first team players help you settle in and bed in?
Yeah, they're all nice lads. They all really help you when you go up there the first time. They all know it's how it feels because they've been there. Obviously, they've been there, and yeah, they helped me a lot.
You made your debut against PSG, some game to make your debut in as well. What are your recollections of that day?
Winning the game from being down in the result, and me representing the whole academy, like coming onto the pitch, like I was representing the whole academy from all the youth levels, so it was a great feeling.
And what a buzz. That must have been one you want more of, no doubt.
Yeah, many more to come, hopefully.
And how did it feel to score your first competitive goals against Astana and Rochdale?
Just like hearing the crowd, just cheer and shout, and just scream my name, it was amazing.
And to come at Old Trafford as well, is that something you dreamed of?
Yeah, exactly, in front of the Stretford end twice, so yeah. It meant a lot for the team, obviously, and the fans and me.
And in terms of that, growing up, supporting United, I guess that would have been your dream, scoring at the Stretford end?
I've always wanted it. Ever since I was in the youth team, looking up, seeing Marcus do it, and I've just always wanted to do it, and to finally say I've actually scored a goal for Man United, it's amazing.
And do you have any memories of supporting United as a youngster? I think you went to Wembley, did you, to watch it?
Yeah, I've been to Wembley. I think it was Chelsea versus United in a cup game. I remember going there with my uncle and my dad and seeing United win. And I've finally done that, and I've played a game and scored for United. It's amazing.
And in terms of your own work, obviously we've said it is a step up into the first team. Ollie mentioned concentration. Is it things like tactics that get on you now in post?
Yeah, you got to listen to everything, like all the feedback from the coaches, the gym staff, the nutritionists. You've always got to take it on board and listen.
And in terms of we know you prefer your left foot just about to your right.
Yeah, I prefer my left foot just about to my right foot. Yeah.
So what's with the penalties with your right foot? Is it what you feel most comfortable at that moment?
It happened when I was like in under-13s. I missed with my left foot against City. I still remember the game, and ever since I've just gone with the right foot ever since that.
And free kicks, both feet?
Yeah.
So how does that come about? Do you just work for what side of the goal it is,
yeah.
perhaps, where the actual kick is?
Yeah.
And in terms of your long-term aims, Mason, now you've got the contract, what's your aims for this period of time?
I just want to show everyone what I can do, really, and like why I've signed the contract, why I'm here. I just want to show everyone.
You missed a lovely moment in the studio there while watching that. Sylvain was saying that's a joke when he was hitting penalties with his right, free kicks with his left. But what an ability, Sylvain, to be able to play with both feet so comfortably.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and he is really comfortable on both feet. He's a defender's nightmare because he can go either way, and go either way with quality. And I've seen him play quite a bit, and he's a scorer of all types of goals. Goals like that one there where he just shifts it and gets it off. He can score free kicks, penalties, and he's a true goal scorer, and I'm really excited about the future for Mason.
And Ollie has said, Danny, that he's probably the most natural finisher we've got on the books. So, I mean, is it fair to say you two were kind of penalty box strikers mainly, weren't you? You scored the majority of your goals would have been in the box. Your positioning, your attacking position was always spot on, so you know where to be. And some people say that's a hard thing sometimes to coach. But is that the kind of goal Mason can score, or does he learn that?
No, he'll learn. His movement will come on. He'll learn different ways of play against better defenders, and he'll learn how to come and spin and show for it, and the different movements that strikers need. But no, he's already scoring all types of goals. He's getting the the 4 or 5 yard tap-ins. He's beating people, beating 4 or 5 and sticking it in the top corner. He's scoring free kicks. He's with both feet. It goes on. He's scoring headers. He scores all types of goals. That's why it's so difficult to play against. And I just think you look at him at 17. Give him 2 or 3 more years in the gym, playing, top level football, and you're going to see we're talking about a top player in the making if he keeps his head in the right place and, develops in the way that we hope he can.
Yeah, just turned 18, didn't he, after that Arsenal game? So much time to grow. And Sylvain, he's not starting tonight, so it's a shame not to see him from the start. He might get on, but does that mean he might be in contention at the weekend?
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. But for him, he'll be itching to play every game that he's involved in, But as Danny touched on there, the key thing for me with a player like Mason Greenwood is not necessarily his ability, it's his mentality.
Yeah.
How much he wants to be a top professional footballer, how much he wants to put the work in when the cameras are away, and that will determine how high he plays and for how long. Because his ability is frightening, really. I mean, you look at some of his goals there, he's very both-footed, he talks really well, and he's in and around some really good coaches, some good players. So it's just key how his mentality develops and how good a player he becomes.
Yeah, I think Sylvain was spot on there, saying he speaks well, doesn't he? You can tell from that interview and from the time we've been around him and had the chance to chat to him, he is quite a mature lad. He interviews very well. And from what we've seen, he does really want to become a footballer, so he will do the hard work.
Yeah, there's a humility that runs through him. He doesn't amplify anything. He's not trying to say he's better than anything. He's just like, listen, I've been here since I was 7. I want to show what I can do, and he's comfortable in the surroundings. For him, it's a logical next step to, he said it. I played 14s, 15s, 16s, 18s, 23s.
Yeah.
Now I've found my way to the first team. So, he's got the world at his feet if he applies it in the right way.
Yeah. As you can see, the lads are out doing their pre-match warm-ups in Belgrade. They'll be itching to get the game on now, Sylvain, won't they? People like Wan-Bissaka there, relishing his new adventure. Obviously, didn't get European football at Palace. That's one of the things he's come to United for, just like Harry Maguire. Scott McTominay, despite being such a young lad, one of the more experienced players in that team at the moment. So, getting through the warm-ups, they just really want to get the game on now. Yeah,
these European nights, you'll just be itching to get the first whistle going and get the game going and feel your way into the game and just put in, good individual performances and as a collective go out there and win the game. We all want to see a good performance. We all want to see them pass the ball well. But ultimately, when you go to grounds like this, you need to come away with the points, and they need to qualify from the group in style and show that they're a force to be reckoned with in Europe.
How important then is a fast start, Danny?
I think very important, not only to gain a stranglehold of the game, but just to keep the crowd quiet. You don't want them to get a goal, or you don't want them to get their tails up, because not only does the game become difficult and harder to manage, but the atmosphere becomes more intense.
Yeah.
So you want to put the odds in your favour as much as you can, and a good start would be great, and an early goal would be even better.
Yeah, yet another one of those games, Sylvain, where the first goal carries a lot of significance.
Yeah, it does. Of course it does, especially at grounds like this. But for me, United need to be really good in possession today. Once they win the battle, which I fully expect them to, they need to be good in possession, make Partizan run, because that's the worst thing when you're out on the pitch. It's demoralising. You can't get a foot on the ball. Yeah, they need to be really good in possession today, and I think over time they'll show that they're the better team and go on to win the game.
OK, now yesterday the manager spoke to the media over at the Partizan Stadium, so let's hear some of the key lines to come out of that press conference.
Good evening and welcome to Belgrade. My question is how hard did you study your opponent for tomorrow? Whether there are any of the players you would like to mention specifically, and how do you expect to do tomorrow?
Of course, I've watched many games in the lead up here, and of course I also watched them live. I didn't watch them live, but when they played Molde, which is my old team. Of course, it was a game that I was following very close. So I know them, spoke to the coach in Molde. What did he feel? Zoran, of course, for me, I had him in the reserves at Man United many times. Fantastic boy. Great left foot, great work ethic, and it'll be nice to meet Zoran tomorrow. Hopefully we can stop his left foot, because that is of the best quality. And then we've seen the team and prepared our team against them. Team with some pace, big strong striker, and some talent in there. 2 or 3 very exciting players.
Ole, how important is it for United to do well in this season Europa League, to win it as the more likely route to Champions League football next season, given your position in the league at this point in time?
I think Europa League is important for us. Of course, we won. It's a tournament that last time we were in it, we won it. But you can't rely on in a cup tournament. You can't rely on winning it. It might be luck, there might be injuries. So, and I think Champions League for next season is an aim. So if it's through the top 4 or Europa League, it doesn't matter for us. We're still not in November, and we're talking about not being top 4. I think you're a little bit early there in that assumption.
Last season, some of your best performances came away from home in Paris or in against Tottenham or Arsenal and Chelsea. Now you've played 11 games without winning away from home. Is that down to the opponents setting up against you, or is it down to confidence? How do you reflect upon that from a manager's perspective and a player's perspective?
It's a question we've asked ourselves as well, because after I came in, we won. I can't remember how many away games, 9 on the bounce, and since then we haven't won any. So it's an issue that we have to deal with, sort out as soon as possible. And we got 4 away games now on the trot, so hopefully that statistics will turn.
Ollie, goals have obviously been an issue since the first game of the season. Roy Keane said on Sunday, it's a simple solution, go out and sign Harry Kane. I want to know your thoughts on that, and is it as simple as that?
Roy's quite straightforward, isn't he? So no, for us it's working hard. Getting Anthony back is going to be a massive boost for us, and I'm sure that when Anthony comes back, that will help Marcus as well. So with the forwards we've got, with the pace and the skills, I'm looking forward to the next few weeks.
Maybe that type of striker like Kane to score the sort of goals he scores, the amount of goals he scores?
There's not many. You got the Lewandowskis and the Harry Kanes. There are like the Alan Shearers, Ruud van Nistelrooy, fantastic goal scorers. Ours are different types of players, but I do have to say I like someone who can finish half a chance, and he does that to be. Of course, he's one of the best, and Harry's played with Harry, but he's a Tottenham player.
Harry has played with Harry. Sounds like some kind of film or something, that, doesn't it? But Harry Kane, it's a great question from Keena, wasn't it? Go out and buy Harry Kane. It's not that easy, is it? Sadly. Keena, was he a bit tongue-in-cheek saying that? I don't know. Or was it because in his era, Man United could just go out and buy anybody we wanted because Manchester United? But is that the kind of sort of striker you'd love to see, Danny?
Well, he's one of the best strikers, you know, in England especially, but in Europe, you know, he'd say he's one of the best strikers. So
it's an obvious one, isn't it? Of course you would.
Of course he'd add value to the team without a shadow of a doubt, but it isn't as simple as just going, yeah, OK, well, can we have him? And happily, you know, of course it isn't. But yeah, he'd add value to the team without a shadow of a doubt.
But do you think, Sylvain, that is the area we need to improve most, getting more goals?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt, you need more. You always need competition in the striking positions, and you need players that can put the ball in the back of the net, because ultimately they win games and they win points and they win trophies. You know, so yeah. I mean, I watched that game there where Roy Keane said about Harry Kane, but he's right in some respects. Although it was sort of tongue in cheek, it's go and get the best players. It's Manchester United Football Club. Let's not forget that. Yeah. It's not as simple as that, obviously, but
that should be the aim.
But that's the aim. Along with developing the good young players that are coming through.
Yeah, it was great to see the pictures of the United away support there. I mean, Red Army travel was amazing, best away support. It'd be great to be in that end right now, wouldn't it, after experiencing the delights Belgrade has to offer. They'll have a great time tonight, provided, of course, what they're watching is a team putting the graft in, performing well, and like you've both touched on, matching the kind of work rate and effort that they put in against Liverpool.
Yeah, but I think the away fans are probably our most consistent performers.
They are. I mean, every time they perform.
They're brilliant. You know, come rain or shine, they're there to support the team, and they're vocal with it, and you know, that's exactly the passion that they want to see returned on the football pitch. And you know, like you say, Liverpool, it's fresh in our minds. That's the type of fight that is needed as the baseline for everything that we do going forward.
Just before we remind ourselves of the teams and take a breather to watch the game, we're back with you at half-time, of course. Sylvain, your old team Wolves, away at Slovan Bratislava, same kick-off time as us, so we could wish them all the best as well.
Yeah, thank you.
There's nowhere to go with that, is there? We wish them all the best as well. Yeah, Wolves in need of a win as well, 3 points from their 2 games. Right, that's all we've got time for you pre-match here at Old Trafford. We'll return you to Belgrade and your commentator, Stuart Gardner. But first, let's get a reminder of tonight's starting 11.
And just like the weekend against Liverpool, we think Manchester United will be lining up with a 3 at the back, with Harry Maguire wearing the captain's armband. A full debut for James Garner, 7 changes overall for the Liverpool game. Plenty in reserve on the bench should United need him. A nice combination of youth and experience, Ben Thornley, in this lineup.
Yeah, and definitely going to need the experience. We've been sitting here, Stuart, listening to the build-up, and they are a noisy lot, there's no question, so the experience is going to be key, but brilliant to see the youth as well, and Ole Gunnar's made no secret of the fact that he's happy to use them.
It is seriously tasty here, the atmosphere. It's loud, it's hostile, and hopefully it doesn't go anywhere near beyond hostility, because their previous 2 European games had to be played behind closed doors after some racist behaviour in a Europa League qualifier here against a Turkish team. Hopefully that is the last time we have to mention that tonight.
Yeah, we don't want to hear it. It's been well documented, especially back home, about things that have happened, and we don't want that to continue anywhere, not just here tonight. But it was very, very interesting to hear all the pre-match songs and the build-up and their version of another brick in the wall, which they could certainly do within this flaming stadium.
Yes, 32,000 you can get in here, but they make the noise of double that, particularly lively behind each end. There are 1,400 hardy Manchester United fans here in a corner who have had a really nice day in Belgrade, where it's been about 25, 26 degrees and sunny and warm. And obviously this match day 3 bringing United to a very significant city and venue in the history of the club. And this stadium, the Partizan Stadium, is where the Busby Babes lined up for the last time in February 1958, when Red Star Belgrade also played here. And there was a little ceremony earlier on today. Brian Robson, Mickey Thomas, Ed Woodward and others laying a wreath in the centre circle. Very poignant indeed. And maybe it's fitting that Ollie is turning to quite a youthful side to play in a stadium where the great youthful team of Sir Matt Busby featured in 1958.
Yeah, absolutely. It mirrors it, doesn't it? No question about that, Stuart. And it's a fantastic night for the likes of Brandon Williams and for James Garner as we see the teams making their way onto the pitch.
Yeah, it's in the corner, the tunnel, and you make your way out and suddenly you just see a wall of noise and lights, and it's one of those where you have to walk from one corner of the pitch all the way across the pitch to the other side. Manchester United wearing the traditional red tonight, black and white, of Partizan Belgrade, who have the fabulous nickname the Steamroller. And maybe it's quite fitting for a club like this, this stadium, and not a great deal has been done to it over the years. It's crumbling a little bit, but certainly atmospheric.
It certainly is. They love it. You can see that, and we're watching banners being unfurled, and it's it really is going to be noisy. There's no two ways about it. They love their team, and here they are supporting them against the might of Manchester United.
7 changes for United, remember. I wonder how James Garner's feeling, the 18-year-old full debut. Of course, he's been brilliant for the 23s, but this is a world away, isn't it? From the 23s, and Harry Maguire, I'm sure, proudly wearing the captain's armband for the first time. And there is Stojkovic, the captain of Partizan, a symbol of Partizan. 36, his 3rd spell with Partizan. And special for Zoran Tosic, who only played a handful of games for United, and he will want to impress against his old club tonight.
Yeah, he will. He came with a decent reputation as well. Well, unfortunately, it never happened for it, Manchester United. He'll be looking to really put one over on his own employers tonight.
It's going to be an interesting one tonight here, match day 3 in the Europa League. Partizan Belgrade, Manchester United. Here's your radio commentary team. Andy Ritchie is with Dave Stowell.
Thank you, gents. Well, it's a night that could be key to the future, while it nods emotionally to the past at the same time. Manchester United look to step up their Europa League group stage campaign on the pitch where the club's favourite sons, the young Busby Babes, lined up for the final time before the tragic events at Munich in 1958. United youth is a key element in the lineup picked by Gunnar Solskjaer tonight. He hands a full debut to James Garner, a second start to Brandon Williams, in a squad which contains 7 academy graduates. Whatever happens here tonight, the evening will provide quite an experience for the younger members of the squad. Vociferous crowd, a tight tunnel, a relatively dingy walk from the dressing room to the pitch. Ollie has made it clear that the Reds are in this competition to win it, and that matches like this could be vital along the way. Andy Ritchie alongside me tonight. Andy, it's a big night, isn't it, for all the players, particularly James Garner, of course, and Brandon Williams as well, making their way into the first team. But this could be such an important night in terms of the Europa League campaign this term.
Yeah, Dave, this is what we're looking to tonight. This is not going to be easy. You know that. It's not going to be easy at all. Massive Partizan crowd here that will get behind Partizan Belgrade. And yeah, it's great for the young players. And this is what they've got to aspire to. This is what they've got to actually put up with. It's a learning process for them, isn't it? You know, young players having to come to an area of the world that they've probably not been to before, different cultures, different things that happen in the stadium, well, they're going to get a hostile atmosphere, and they're going to have to deal with that. And when you were talking about the players earlier, the young players, you look at Brandon Williams, 17, Garner, probably 18, 19. But then you look at the rest of the team, and really, you've got Anthony Martial, who's one of the players that you would say was one of the stalwarts in United's team. How old's he? 22. Lingard, 26 now. Wan-Bissaka. So it's a very, very young team all the way through. But for those two players, and Scott McTominay, and you would say that he's a veteran now. Well, maybe not a veteran, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
So, they need those players around them to help them as well, especially, Brandon and James. Great for those two to be playing and starting again tonight. And this will be a real good test for them.
And we get used to the